Hey there everybody, it's Mark Crowley. I'm back with another how to draw video. Today we're going to be learning how to draw manga style facial expressions. And so I'm just going to go ahead and get into it. I'm going to draw the shape of a head here. You see a line slightly diagonal that I'm going to build that head shape around. But let me just do this in time lapse to get it out of the way, and then I'll come back and move on to the next step. Okay, so you can see I have drawn a head shape here that is very much round at the top. You can almost imagine a round, completely round circle up there. And then as it comes down to the sides, you get these two diagonal lines that come down to a kind of, to me it looks almost like a baseball home plate kind of a shape down here. And that's going to be the chin, of course. Now, this facial expression we're working on here is one of joy, happiness, elation. What do you know? I knew 3 different words right there. But we're going to draw the classic happy manga eyes. Now, even within the world of manga, there are many different ways of drawing these sort of happy eyes. I've chosen a style that is cartoony without being crazy exaggerated. You will see some styles where you get these, I call them like crescent moon eyes, where it's very, very curved. You can see I'm going for something that hopefully a little less wildly cartoony. But what I would urge you to do is, first of all, focus on this first line, where it is between the top and the bottom of the head. I think it's right around the middle, maybe just a touch closer to the top. And then you also have to focus on the distance between the two eyes. I find that that is regularly something that I'm having to pay attention to when drawing a face. Now, while we're in here, I'm going to draw a couple lines here that are the folds of the upper eyelids. Not absolutely necessary, but it's a nice little extra touch, I think. And let's go ahead and use this line here to draw the eyebrows. As for the location of that line, which I sort of did in time lapse, again, if you've got this one in the right place, you can see that that's about, what, a third? Maybe a third of the distance, maybe a touch under a third. So much of drawing is about seeing the spaces between different things, even the guidelines, and placing them. You need to be able to see, what the angle of the line is, what the distance is from one place to another. In any case, let's move on to drawing the mouth, and that's what this line is down here. I'd say just about halfway between those two. And I'm going to begin with a very slightly curved upper line of the mouth, and bringing it down at gradual angles. And, I think you sort of imagine a mouth that sort of curves down here. But what happens a lot of times with a lot of different artists is they will not complete that line. I have a separate video about drawing manga mouths. And in that, I'm pretty sure one of them has this style of mouth where it comes down, it looks like it's going to connect, but then those two lines never do connect. I think it's a matter of just letting the drawing breathe a little bit. Sounds like a fancy art term. Oh, I have to let it breathe a little bit, don't you know? In any case, we're going to drop in the nose. I find in a lot of illustrations that this dot of the nose, it could be dead center, but a lot of times it's just a little off to one side, because maybe you're not drawing the nose, you're drawing a shadow, the suggestion of a shadow next to the nose. That might be what that's all about. And it's time now to draw the ears. And these guidelines that you put in here for the eyes and the top of the mouth can, I think, help you place the ears pretty well. I guess this ear is a little down from where those guidelines are, and so of course whatever decision you make in that regard, you need to replicate it over here. And so here we have the basic lines of the ears and the facial features. I'm going to drop in the neck. This is not so much a video about how to draw the neck and the shoulders, but in case you want to kind of replicate what I've got here, you may notice in a somewhat amusing fashion that the neck is only slightly wider than the mouth. Hopefully that is not the case in real life. Either you have a very giant mouth or a very small neck. And I'm just doing a suggestion of a collar here. Again, this is, I want to focus mainly on the facial features here. I think I will try doing the hair in real time just because I feel kind of guilty a lot of my videos I speed through the hair, and I generally do not go line by line through the hair. So let's try at least on this first one. A little bit of real time with Marcritti. And walk you through the drawing of this particular hairstyle. I mean, I say this again and again in my videos. I think everyone should find their own hairstyle or use this facial expression and apply it to a character of their own rather than following along with what I'm doing line by line. But I think it can be a sort of a confidence-building measure sometimes to copy someone else's drawing line for line. But you can see that I've put the upper guideline of the hair just floating above that rough guideline of the head itself. Give the hair a little more body by having it up above that line. And then I'm going to just put in some strands of hair that come across like so. I should say that this basic face is based on a section of my book Mastering Manga, where I showed I think it's 12 different facial expressions. Unfortunately, that section does not show you line by line how to draw it. It's impossible for everything in the book to have a line by line, step by step kind of a thing. So I thought, why not do a video? Could be kind of a companion piece to the book, if you have the book. This is your little step-by-step method for drawing that pretty much the same picture. So we've got the hair in place here. I want to draw one more strand that comes across by the eyebrows, the edge of the eyebrows, just to sort of finish it off. Why not drop in just a little more definition inside the ears? I'm not going to get super anatomical in terms of drawing the details of the ears, keeping it kind of cartoony. And there I think we've got the basics of it, although I'd like to get just a few more strands of hair. I always find myself wanting to put a few strands of hair back behind the head. Well, I can see that we've spent a good 7 minutes just getting to this point on this one drawing, and I do want to do a second one over here that's going to be a look of embarrassment. So let's go ahead and, in time-lapse, finish off this drawing before moving on to the next one. Alright, well there you have it. Added all the shading in there to finish off the drawing. But of course, I must beware of the blushy police. The ever watchful eye of the blushy police on their way to enforce the law of adding blushies. Hello, what's all this then? I usually wait until later before I start losing my mind on these videos. Something just got to me. So I'm adding a little bit of blushies here. Of course, some people who are like serious manga people will say, but there's no blushies when somebody's laughing. That's just wrong. Or smiling. But I don't know. It's become a tradition. I do it without even thinking now. What's happened to me? Let's move on to the next drawing, and this is going to be one of embarrassment, which is maybe the way I should feel after doing that ridiculous thing about the blushy police. But let's go ahead and I'll do it in time lapse again. Get the shape of the head in there. It's kind of boring to watch me draw this head shape, and then we'll move on to the more interesting details of the face. Okay, so we've got the shape of the head in place, and this time I'm doing kind of a 3/4 view, and so that you can see that the shape of over here is considerably different from over here, and this midway line here is kind of pointing me towards the middle of where the mouth is going to be. But let's go ahead and draw the eyes, and these two lines here, this one not exactly halfway between, a little closer to the top than the bottom, and then this one I would say, what is that, about a third? Maybe about a third. A little more than a third from the bottom. Let's go ahead and draw the irises that are going to rest on that line that I was just describing very poorly. It's a little more than a third, but it's not quite a half. I'm going to say 7/14. No, wait, that's half. Let's go ahead and finish drawing the rest of this iris. Notice that it doesn't come all the way to that line because that is the line for the upper eyelash, which I am putting here a little thicker in the middle, and then it sort of trails off as it comes down towards the edges. Now, this blank space between the iris and the upper eyelash is actually fairly important because we're drawing a look of embarrassment here, and for the person to look embarrassed, their eyes need to be like open wide, and that shows that they are tense and sort of unnaturally wide awake, self-conscious, I guess you'd say. No. Notice, again, incredible space between these two eyes as I draw this second one. Actually, as I look at that line and this one, I see that the iris is a little closer to this other side of the head. And, you know, it's kind of tricky as I talk about how to draw facial expressions because there's so many different types of manga drawing. You know, if you look at something like Death Note, much more realistic. In fact, I think a lot of people, I foresee in the comments section, next time do more realistic. Some people really like realistic. Other people like the more manga style. So I kind of move back and forth between the two. But drawing in this other eye, upper eyelash, again, trying to replicate that space there between the iris and the upper eyelash area. Notice that I've left a couple of highlights here at the upper edge of the iris, as I like to do. And I'll go ahead and do like I did last time, do a line for the fold of the upper eyelid. Not absolutely necessary. Now, I'm going to move on down to drawing the mouth. And one interesting thing about an embarrassed expression, more often than not, it involves a smiling mouth, which may seem a little counterintuitive. Like, so wait, when you're embarrassed, you don't smile. You don't feel great when you're embarrassed. But there is a thing you're going to see when I add the eyebrows later, where a combination of a smile with a certain angle of the eyebrows creates this look of embarrassment. So, kind of like I did before, the mouth comes down, but it doesn't quite connect at the bottom. Is that absolutely essential? Probably not, but I kind of like that little touch. Now, as for the nose, I'm putting it kind of right between these two, or between these two lines, I guess I should say. But again, I'm going to put it a little off to one side from that line. And from there, it is time to add, well, let me do this, because I always like to add the eyebrows last, because I think they have a very transformative effect to the drawing. Sorry about that. The phone rang again. I've got to remember to shut off that phone. This time I thought I would spare you the shock, because some of these people listen on headphones, and they're like, oh my goodness, when that phone rang, it gave me a heart attack. And I don't want anyone to go into cardiac arrest while watching one of my videos, so I decided to just sort of edit that out. But we're going to add the ears. And what was I saying before the phone rang? Yes, I decided to save the eyebrows until last, because I think there is this sort of transformative effect that happens to this facial expression when we add the eyebrows. So we got the ears in. Notice that this time, and it sort of depends on the angle of the face and so forth, I've moved the ears way down low. Some people might not like that. They want to say, hey, be consistent the way you did over here. But you know, it's all based on reference of the way I've seen these things in actual published manga. So let's go ahead and move on to those eyebrows that really will change. Watch how this happens. The entire look of her face. She goes from looking kind of happy to really looking quite thoroughly embarrassed. Even just one eyebrow does the job, but you get that second eyebrow in there, and you really do get quite a look of embarrassment. I'm always sort of amazed how just those two lines. And notice that the way I'm doing it, they kind of do a double curve. You know, it's going up to begin with, and then it goes even farther up towards the inside edges. But if you get it at any kind of an angle where the eyebrows are moving up towards the middle of the forehead, combined with a smile, you are going to get some sort of look of embarrassment. I'm going to give you the basic guidelines this time of the hair. But we are going to have to sort of move through a lot of this in time-lapse, I think, just to kind of keep the video on the shortish side. Although so many of my viewers say, Mark, I wouldn't mind if your video went on for a whole hour. Sadly, some people, a lot of people, they lead busy lives. They can't spend a whole hour watching one of my videos. And those people, I would lose completely. They just say, yeah, an hour? I'm not watching this. And I do want my videos to be seen. So this basic guideline over here is showing this girl with kind of longish hair. I'm going to go ahead and get another line over here for the other edge of the hair over there. Let's go ahead and drop in a neck, and the pose that I was looking at that sort of taught me how to draw this look of embarrassment had the shoulders coming way up high. And looking at this, I don't know if you can even see this as shoulders, but this is one of her shoulders, and this is the other, kind of squunched up. Squunched? Is that a word? Squunched. There's a certain squunchification of the shoulders. Don't quote me on that. I'm not pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that's not a line. Not a real word. But I'm going to go ahead and finish off that part of it, and then add just a few final guidelines of like a strand of hair by the side between the eyes and the ears. And maybe just one or two little rough guidelines of where I will eventually put the bangs, that come across. I don't even know if these qualify as bangs. I guess they do. But anyway, the strands of hair coming down here across the forehead. And sadly, I think I should kick it into time-lapse to finish off this drawing, and then I'll be back to give you some final words of advice. Alright, well there it is, all shaded in. On this last one I did during time-lapse a kind of a added highlight. I thought I would do real-time over here, show you how after you do the shading with the pencil, you can kind of go in with an eraser and add a nice little highlight on the hair. Lots of different ways. In fact, I should probably do a video sometime about just on highlights, hair highlights. Lots of different ways of doing this, but I've sort of noticed a majority, possibly, of manga artists sticking with a fairly thin, narrow little stripe, almost, of highlight. But of course, it is time to do the blushes before I end this, and because she is embarrassed, we are in a situation of adding rather more blushes than we normally do. And usually I'm just adding a whole bunch of diagonal lines, but this time I'm kind of varying the direction of them. I've noticed some artists will do this. Notice they are also sort of covering more of her face. They're going higher up on the face than they normally would, just to add to that feeling of great shyness. I don't want to overdo it, though. I mean, in a way, because I'm doing this in pencil, I think I can get away with more than if I were trying to ink it in. I would caution against adding too many lines if you're doing this with ink rather than pencil. But I think that little final addition of lines can finish off that feeling of embarrassment that she's feeling. I welcome you guys explaining what it is that is making her so embarrassed. I shouldn't open the door because people immediately go to the gutter in their explanations for these things. Keep it clean, people. Come on, come on. Time for me to go ahead and thank everyone, as I generally do, for supporting me by getting my books. We've got Brody's Ghost, 3 books so far in that series of 6. We got Miki Falls, all 4 of those books out and available. And finally, Mastering Manga, the book from which these 2 facial expressions came. But let's go ahead and lay down the pencil. I want to thank you all for watching my videos, for subscribing, for spreading the word about them, for all the different ways that you support me. I really greatly appreciate it. But let's go ahead and wind it down by saying thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be back with another one real soon.